Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Ileana Leca and I teach English at George Coșbuc Bilingual National High School. I am always here on Mondays too for Simply English, and it's your chance to learn more English, to practice and get better at it. Let me introduce today's guest to you. Hi Francesca and hi Patricia, and welcome back. I'm going to remind you the main differences between the past simple and the present perfect, and we're going to take a look at the exercise we did last week, the last one I mean. So the past simple is always used whenever we have a definite time expression, like yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, last month, last summer, when I was a child. Whereas the present perfect shows that the action happened in the past, but we don't know exactly when. So if the time is not clearly specified, you will choose the present perfect. We say, for instance, I moved to China when I was 4, but he has left the office. We don't know when that happened, and we'll be back later. Another difference between the two of them is that if the action happened and finished in the past, we need to use the past simple. If the action is somehow connected to the present, we'll use the present perfect. My family and I lived in Sweden for 2 years when I was a baby, but he has taught literature at university for 20 years now. And the last difference between them is that if the action is only connected to the past and it cannot be repeated, you'll use the past simple. But if the action can be repeated, then we need to use the present perfect. And I've given this example of 2 sports people who are very famous. Nadia Comaneci, the famous gymnast, who is no longer competing. So that's why when we talk about her achievements as a sports person, we'll use the past simple. But when we talk about a person like David Popovic who is still competing, then we need to use the present perfect. And here are 2 examples. And this is the last text we considered during the previous class. I did not get the chance, there was very little time left to write the answers. So that's why I'm now going to share with you this screen with a key to the exercise. Since this is the last lesson we have in this season, I'm going to have a sort of revision of what we did starting in September and to this day. With some sentences, I have introduced here all the grammar we've been covering so far. We have covered so far. We'll need to decide whether the sentences are correct, in which case I will just put a tick. But if they are not correct, then we'll need to correct them. Pay attention to grammar. So it's not the spelling of words you should be looking at, but grammar. We'll take turns. Patricia, will you please read the first sentence?
Yes, the first sentence is, I have 15 years old. And it's wrong because the correct answer is, I am 15 years old.
You are quite right. In Romanian, we of course use this verb to have when we talk about somebody's age. In English, however, this is incorrect, so I will cross it out. You said, I am 15, or I am 15 years old. So yeah, in English, we use the verb to be when we talk about somebody's age. Well done. Francesca, the next one, please.
They don't speak Spanish. The sentence is wrong, and the right answer is, she doesn't speak Spanish.
Very good. We use don't if the subject is I, we, you, they. But for he, she, or it, we need to use doesn't. Good. Patricia?
I think you're right. This one is correct.
I think you're right too. Yes, this is correct. Francesca?
We're thinking about moving house. This is correct.
This is also correct. And with these two sentences, I'm going to remind you the fact that some verbs, which we call state verbs, and think is one of them, are not normally used in the continuous form. Other examples of such verbs would be, for instance, like, dislike, love, hate, enjoy. Verbs of the senses, if you remember, also fall into this category of state verbs that are not normally used in the continuous form. So hear, see, smell, taste. Other verbs like belong, be, and so on. But some of them, and it's not all of them, can be used in the continuous form, in which case they become action verbs and they change their meaning completely. If we consider these two sentences and they are both correct, you'll notice the difference in meaning. I think you're right. In this sentence, think means believe. I believe you're right. But if I say we're thinking of moving house, the verb to think used in the continuous form means we're planning, we're considering doing this. Very good point. And we'll get back to Patricia.
I think this one is correct as well.
Right. Here is a verb of perception. It's not normally used in the continuous form. And I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that after a modal verb like can, the verb should be used in its infinitive form without to. We say, I can hear noises. Okay? You can never use two infinitives here. All right. Francesca, please.
The right answer is, why are you tasting the soup? Is there anything wrong?
Taste is once more a state verb. If we use it with the present simple, it means it has the flavor. So that's why I'm going to cross out do and taste in order to write the correct form of this verb. So why are you tasting? We mean the action verb of tasting, testing the flavor of. Thank you. Patricia?
We're getting better and better at English. I think this one is correct.
Yes, it is correct. The use of the present continuous here shows a process, a gradual process. Francesca?
I'm understanding this explanation. It's wrong. The right answer is, I understand this explanation.
Yeah, understand is one of those state verbs which is never used in the continuous form. So it's incorrect to say I'm understanding, but I understand. This is not an example of a state verb which can become an action verb. Back to you, Patricia.
Is this bag belonging to him? It's wrong. The correct one is, does this bag belong to him?
The same thing over here. This is a state verb, belong, which is never used in the continuous form, so we should use it with the present simple. Does this bag belong to him?
I don't know what's got into him. He's been naughty. This one's correct.
Yeah, the verb to be can be used in the continuous form. It becomes, its meaning changes to behave. It's not like him to be naughty, but today, I don't know what's got into him. He's being naughty. 11 is the next one.
Have you always liked chocolate? This one is correct.
Good. Francesca, please, the next one.
They have never been to Tokyo before. This one is incorrect. So the correct one would be, they have never been to Tokyo before.
Excellent. We use has been if we're talking about he, she, or it. But with a subject like they, we need to use have. Patricia?
It's incorrect. The right answer is, I haven't read that book yet, but I'd look to do so soon.
You probably remember the rule. Already is used with Affirmative sentences, I've already done that. I've already been there. Don't worry about it. I've done it already. But if we're dealing with negative sentences or with questions, instead of already, we need to use yet. So I haven't read that book yet, but I'd like to do so soon.
He didn't used to like geography at first, but he does now. This one is incorrect. So the right answer would be he didn't used to like geography at first, but he does now.
Right, you are. When we're talking about the past simple, in a negative sentence, we use didn't for all persons. There's no distinction now between he, she, it, or they. However, what follows is the verb in the infinitive. That's why this D shouldn't be here. So Francesca said the answer is he didn't use to like geography at first. All right, and I'm taking a short break now to remind you that we use this form, used to, or the negative didn't use to, or of course we can use the question to, whenever we want to talk about habits in the past that no longer happen in the present. That's why this sentence goes on, but he does now. So it's something that didn't use to happen in the past, it does now, however.
She would live with her grandma in the country when she was 3. I think are 2 possible right answers. I would say she used to live or she lived
Very
with her
good.
grandma in the country.
Excellent choice. All right, so would cannot be followed by a state verb like the one we have here, live. However, there are 2 ways in which we can express the same sentence in a correct way. Either using the past simple, we can say she lived with her grandma, or if we mean that this no longer happens in the present, and it could be the case. When she was 3, this happened. However, it may not happen now. That's why we can use she used to live. So remember, would is used with action verbs only. Used to can be used with both state verbs and action verbs. Easy does it. 5 more sentences. Francesca, back to you.
Did you visited your grandpa last week? This is incorrect. The right answer would be, did you visit your grandpa last week?
Good. Remember, after the auxiliary did, the verb should be used in its infinitive form. So, did you visit? How do we know we need to use the past tense here? Because of the time reference, last week. We know for sure that we need to use the past simple here. I was lucky when the computer crashed. Past tense, I had already saved the data on a memory stick. Right, and the point of this sentence was to point out that if we have 2 actions in the past and we need to show which one happened first and which is the next one, we'll use past perfect for the action that happened first. I had already saved the data, and we'll use the past simple for the action that happened second, when the computer crashed. Francesca?
How are you meeting your friends at 5 p.m.? This is incorrect. The right answer is, when are you meeting your friends?
Good. And it's because the answer is at 5 p.m. If we want to ask about time, we're going to use when. A quick reminder here, we studied questions and we said that there are 2 types of questions. On the one hand, we have yes or no questions. The answer we expect in that case is yes or no. And the second type are the questions that start with a question word, like who, which, what, when, where, why, how, or combinations of these, like how long, how far, and so on. And this is an example of a WH question. In order to decide which question word you need to use, you need to pay attention to the kind of information you're looking for. At 5 p.m. is a means of asking about time. So when, not how. Thank you. Back to you, Patricia, for the last but one.
We have spent a week in the mountains last summer. This feels wrong, but I think the wrong word is have spent, the wrong verb, because it's supposed to be we spent a week in the mountains last summer.
Very good. We know exactly when the action happened last summer, in which case we need to use the past simple, not the present perfect, so we spent. Now this verb, spend, is an irregular verb. The second form, which is the past tense, is spent. The past participle, which is the third form, is also spent. Easy peasy. So we spent a week last summer. And the last one, please, it's your turn, Francesca.
Have you ever tried Thai food? This one is correct.
All right. It's a means of asking about somebody's experience to date. Have you ever tried Thai food? So remember, with these sentences, we try to revise everything we did throughout this season. And it's because we're nearing the end of the season. We went through the present simple, present continuous, state verbs, and remember, some of them are not normally used in the continuous form. Some of them may be used, they become action verbs. We also took a look at ways in which we form the past simple, the present perfect simple, when and how we use the past perfect simple. We mainly focused on simple forms. Of course, with the past tense, there's also a continuous form, or with the present perfect, but we haven't looked at those throughout this season. Time for us to enjoy the times we're living, actually, because it's December, and December is such a special month. It's rich in customs and traditions around the world, not just in our country. And we have some examples here of customs, traditions held in December from different countries. I'd like us to read these texts, and then we'll just do one comprehension exercise before we say goodbye for this festive season. Patricia, will you please read this text about Christmas in Sweden?
In Sweden, St. Lucia's Day is celebrated on December 13th. A young girl is chosen to portray St. Lucia, wearing a white robe with a red sash and a crown of candles on her head. She leads a procession, and the children often participate in singing carols. This celebration marks the beginning of the Christmas season in Sweden.
Thank you, Francesca. The next text is for you to read, please.
Hanukkah in Israel. Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of Lights, is celebrated by Jewish communities around the world. In Israel, families light their menorah, a special candle holder, each night for 8 nights. They also enjoy foods fried in oil such as the suganiot, jelly-filled donuts, and latkes potato pancakes.
Thank you. Time to find out about India and celebrations in India. Patricia?
Diwali in India. Diwali, also known as the Festival of Lights, is celebrated by Hindus, Sikhs, and Jains. Families light oil lamps, exchange gifts, and enjoy sweets. It's a time of joy and renewal, symbolizing the victory of light over darkness.
Interesting. Now let's see what happens in the United States. Francesca?
Kwanzaa in the United States. Kwanzaa is a cultural holiday celebrated by African Americans from December 26th to January 1st. Each day represents a principle, such as unity, self-determination, and creativity. Families come together to light a candle on the kinara, candle holder, and celebrate their heritage.
Interesting, isn't it? And this happens in Northern Europe. Yule, also known as the winter solstice, is celebrated in Northern European countries, and it marks the shortest day, the longest night of the year. Traditional customs include lighting candles, decorating trees, gathering with loved ones. So to wrap it all up, let's decide whether, according to the descriptions we've gone through, these are true or false. St. Lucia is celebrated on December 13th in Mexico. True or false?
It's false because it's celebrated in Sweden.
Good. All right. During Hanukkah, Jewish families light the menorah for 7 nights.
I think it was 8 nights.
8 nights,
Or-
so that's false too. Diwali is a festival celebrated only by Hindus.
That's false. It's not celebrated only by Hindus. It's also by Sikhs and Jains.
Good. Kwanzaa is celebrated by African Americans from January 1st to January 7th.
This is wrong because it starts on 26th of December and it ends on January 1st.
Good. And Yule is a celebration that marks the longest day and shortest night of the year in Northern Europe. This makes this sentence
False is the other way around. It's the longest night and the shortest day.
and the shortest day. All right. Thank you so much. In my end is my beginning. I started this season with Patricia and Francesca, and I'm going to say goodbye to the both of them, but of course to everyone since this is the end of the season. Goodbye, Francesca. Goodbye, Patricia. Hope you'll have a
Bye.
nice season. And thank you so much for joining me this season for English, which I call Simply English. I hope these lessons have been easy for you to chew on. I hope you will enjoy this festive season, enjoy Christmas with family, and of course have a new year, a happy new year. One more thing I'll say, happy learning until next time. Goodbye.